You are about to hear The Art of Dramatic Writing by Lajos Egri, narrated by Troy W. Hudson. Copyright 2016 BN Publishing online at bnpublishing.com. Preface. This book was written not only for authors and playwrights, but for the general public. If the reading public understands the mechanism of writing, if that public becomes aware of the hardships, the tremendous effort that goes into any and all literary work, appreciation will become more spontaneous. The reader will find at the end of this book synopses of plays analyzed according to dialectics. We hope these will add to the reader's understanding of novels and short stories in general, and of plays and movies in particular. We shall discuss plays in this book without acclaiming or dismissing each one in its entirety. When we quote passages to illustrate a point, we are not necessarily approving the whole play. We deal with both modern and classical plays. There is an emphasis on the classics because most modern plays are too soon forgotten. Most intelligent people are familiar with the classics, and they are always available for study. We have based our theory on the eternally changing character who forever reacts almost violently to constantly changing internal and external stimuli. What is the fundamental makeup of a human being, any human being, perhaps you who are reading these very lines? This question must be answered before we can settle down to discuss point of attack, orchestration, and the rest. We must know more about the biology of the subject that we see later in movement. We begin with a dissection of premise, character, and conflict. This is to give the reader an inkling of that power which will drive a character to greater heights or to his destruction. A builder who does not know the material he is forced to work with courts disaster. In our case, the materials are premise, character, and conflict. Before knowing all these in their minutest detail, it is useless to speak of how to write a play. We hope the reader will find this approach helpful. In this book, we propose to show a new approach to writing in general, and to playwriting in particular. This approach is based on the natural law of dialectics. Great plays written by immortal authors have come down to us through the ages, yet even geniuses often wrote very bad plays. Why? Because they wrote on the basis of instinct rather than from exact knowledge. Instinct may lead a man once or several times to create a masterpiece, but as sheer instinct it may lead him just as often to create a failure. Authorities have listed the laws governing the science of playwriting. Aristotle, the first and undoubtedly the most important influence on the drama, said 2,500 years ago, "Most important of all is the structure of the incidents, not of man, but of action and life." Aristotle denied the importance of character, and his influence persists today. Others have declared character the all-important factor in any type of writing. Lope de Vega, the 16th century Spanish dramatist, gave this outline. In the first act set forth the case. In the second, weave together the events in such wise that until the middle of the third act one may hardly guess the outcome. Always trick expectancy, and hence it may come to pass that something quite far from what is promised may be left to the understanding. The German critic and playwright Lessing wrote, "The strictest observation of the rules cannot outweigh the smallest fault in a character." The French dramatist Corneille wrote, "It is certain that there are laws of the drama, since it is an art, but it is not certain what these laws are." And so on, all contradicting one another. Some go so far as to claim that there can be no rules whatsoever. This is the strangest view of all. We know there are rules for eating, walking, and breathing. We know there are rules for painting, music, dancing, flying, and bridge building. We know there are rules for every manifestation of life and nature. Why then should writing be the sole exception? Obviously, it is not. Some writers who have tried to list rules have told us that a play is made up of different parts: theme, plot, incidents, conflict, complications, obligatory scene, atmosphere, dialogue, and climax. Books have been written on each of these parts, explaining and analyzing them for the student.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?